How can drones be used after a nuclear disaster? Well, stick around, I'll tell you how. There's a saying in the drone industry that if a project is dull, dirty, or dangerous, let a drone do it. And I think that makes a lot of sense. But what's more dangerous than a nuclear power plant? Well, over the next 2 episodes, I'm going to talk about 2 use cases for drones. The first being Chernobyl, and the second, Fukushima. Today we'll concentrate on Chernobyl. But before we start, I need to tell you about last week's vlog. You know, for any of you guys that have done any of this kind of work before, there's a lot of things you have to check before you start. What's my frame rate? What's my aperture? Lighting, is my lighting set right? Is the intensity right? My audio levels, and on and on and on. And consequently, I make up a checklist. So I check everything off before I start filming. Last week I did the same thing, but I had made one change. If you noticed, I was using a lavalier mic for most of my vlogs. The first ones, however, I used a shotgun mic outside. So I thought I'd move to that shotgun mic inside. So I set up a boom pole, got it all ready to go, checked my audio levels, and did my filming for that vlog. I then set that aside. I didn't edit it right away. And a little later on, I think probably a day later, I came back to it and listened to it. I thought, oh my gosh, the audio is terrible. If any of you listened to that last week, you'll know it sounded really bad. So I was confused. I said, what could I have done? I went through my checklist, made sure my levels were set, but I hadn't actually monitored the shotgun mic, which is above the frame here. And I went back and started checking again, and it turns out my shotgun mic wasn't on. And the sound you heard was actually coming from the onboard mics on the camera, which is pretty pathetic, you can tell. So I fiddled around with it and finally found out something. If you look at my camera here, on the side, there's a little port, 3.5 millimeter jack, and that's where my shotgun mic plugs in. Well, I had plugged it in, but I didn't push it all the way. It didn't make that last click and that last stop, which causes that to disable the mic in the camera and activate the shotgun mic. So I ruined that one. So I apologize for the poor audio last week, but I think we have it fixed this week. Moving on to Chernobyl. If you know Chernobyl, Chernobyl is in the northern part of the Ukraine. And in April of 1986, there was a massive steam explosion inside reactor number 4, which released radioactive materials into the environment. It killed 30 people within the first 30 days, and many more for years later. And if you ever followed the 2008 motorcycle series Long Way Around, which followed Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman around the world on their motorcycles, you'll see that they stopped at an orphanage outside of Kiev and visited the children that were still being affected by that disaster. Really a sad sight and an ongoing problem. Now, it's important to me for another reason. Back at that time, I was actually in England and Scotland, and all the major weather stations said this radioactive cloud was going to blow right over where I was. And that was real concerning, because the scientists at the time said it may be 20 years before we know the ultimate impact of that disaster. So for 20 years, in the back of my mind, I thought, am I going to end up with leukemia or some other form of cancer from that? Thankfully, nothing happened. Fast forward to today. Building number 5 was actually under construction when building number 4 exploded, and no one knew for sure if the depleted uranium bars had been transferred to the holding pools in building number 5, and if any new equipment had been installed. So Chernobyl's decommissioning team reached out to a company called Flyability. It's a Swiss firm that's developed this small drone that you'll see here, enclosed in a cage, which allows it to fly, but bounce off walls, ceilings, pipes, anything, and continue to fly. And while it's doing that, it can take high-resolution photos and videos using its 10,000 lumen onboard lighting system. And they wanted to use that to inspect the inside of building number 5 and see what was left. I had actually talked to the factory on several occasions when I was trying to find a solution for a client here in Tampa, but they wanted to measure toxic gases, and at that time that was not available. Now, the Elios 2 is routinely used for inspecting the insides of boilers, utility tunnels, mines, any kind of enclosed space. So to apply it to the nuclear facility made a lot of sense. Their biggest concern was they had to fly up over a 230-foot wall of thick concrete before they could enter building number 5. And there was a great concern about losing communication with the drone and ultimately losing a drone. But as it turned out, the flight went to plan, no problems. And they found that there were no radioactive materials stored in building number 5. So a great result. Now I'm providing a link to the video down below that shows you the flight of the Elios 2 inside building number 5. Now I'm also a video editor, and I love to put things together, apply the right music to it to fit the tone of the video. I want you to comment on what you think about this. I think this music is so wrong for this particular video, the somberness of it, the critical nature of it, and I think it's just totally wrong. So let me know what you think. Guess they should have hired me to do that one, right? I hope you're still enjoying these vlogs, and if you are, give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And if you feel like it, please share with your friends. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you have a video that you would like me to share on one of my vlogs, please send it along, and I'll be happy to include it in a future episode. And thank you for watching.